Well met, my friends, Nexy is here, and today I'm going to help you guys either win duels or increase your chance of winning duels against Death Knights. First, we're going to meditate upon the abilities you need to watch out for when dueling one of these Live Lords. They are very hard to kill, they do a lot of damage, so we cannot stand toe-to-toe with them. The main weakness that Death Knights have is their mobility. They are very slow, it's very easy to get away, especially since Windwalkers have two things that Death Knights don't. The first thing is high mobility to get away, and the second is basically spammable healing. Death Knights do have some healing, but most of it's on cooldowns and using their runes for Death Siphon, whereas Windwalkers, eventually, the longer the fight goes, the chances of the Windwalker winning increases. So that's what you have to focus on in the strategy of beating Death Knights in duels, and that is constant kiting, constantly getting away when you need to, and then of course slowly peeling him down until he's 1% and then you beat him. Unfortunately, as sad and boring as that sounds, that's really the only way a Windwalker can stand against a Death Knight in a duel or even a 1v1 situation. So before I get into all the tips and strategies and the gameplay itself, we're going to take a look at what the toolkit of the Death Knight is, so we know what we need to watch out for. So the Death Knight has two notable defensive cooldowns. The first is Anti-Magic Shell, an ability that makes the Death Knight take little to no damage from any source of non-physical damage. So for Windwalkers, that basically means all of our nature damage is useless against him when Anti-Magic Shell is up. Our nature damage abilities include Chi Wave, Chi Burst, Zen Sphere, Chi Torpedo, Rushing Jade Wind, Chi Explosion, and Hurricane Strike. So don't use any of these abilities when you see Anti-Magic Shell up. There have been a couple times where I wasn't paying attention and I would accidentally, let's say, Chi Burst or even Hurricane Strike into an Anti-Magic Shell, and then I cry myself to sleep after that arena, realizing that it did absolutely no damage. So make sure you're paying attention to when they use Anti-Magic Shell, pay attention to when it's on cooldown so you can go for your full burst setup. The second defensive cooldown that Death Knights have is Icebound Fortitude. This will allow the Death Knight to not only take 20% reduced damage, but also become immune to any kind of stun effects. So this makes them immune to our Leg Sweep and Fist of Fury, to be specific. So when this is active, you want to kite as much as possible without using Leg Sweep or Fist of Fury. That way, if you want to use these after it comes off, you will not have any kind of diminishing returns on stuns, and most importantly, you will not have wasted the stun effect if you used it when it was active. So those are the best ways to counter Icebound Fortitude, and with Anti-Magic Shell, now that I'm talking about it again, basically the best counter to that is two things. One, kiting, just like every other time, or simply just use physical attacks like Fist of Fury, Rising Sun Kick, Blackout Kick, whatever you need to do. Now, for offensive cooldowns, you will have to watch out for at least two, at least depending on their talent choices. They can get up to 5 cooldowns that you need to watch out for. However, they have at least 2 guaranteed, and those two are Death Grip and Pillar of Frost. Death Grip is the first we'll talk about. This is mostly used on us when we try to kite them. Now, we will be kiting them most of the fight, almost the entire duration. So because of this, Death Grip will be something that they are going to use often. Try to force the Death Knight to use grip on you without having to use Flying Serpent Kick, because this is our most distance of escaping. So roll in Tiger's Lust or just running compared to Flying Serpent Kick is very small. So you want to try your best to get them to use grip on you without using Flying Serpent Kick. That way when they do grip you in, you can Flying Serpent Kick away, and then you'll be much further than where you were, or at least where you would be if you say Flying Serpent Kick, got gripped, and then say Chi Torpedoed. So try and save your Flying Serpent Kick until grip is on cooldown. That's basically what I'm saying here. Now, the other thing is Pillar of Frost. This is just a basic strength increase, which is actually huge for Death Knights, so it's a huge damage increase, especially if they have an on-use trinket or their trinket procs at the same time. As usual, the best thing to do to basically counteract this is to either Touch of Karma and then go full-on damage with them, or to simply kite. So those are the top 2 strategies I would recommend for Pillar of Frost: kiting or simply using a defensive like Karma. I don't think fortifying or any stuns or anything is as useful. The only time I would stick to the guy without kiting is Touch of Karma when this is active, because that's a lot of absorption, so you don't really have any risk of, say, your defensive not doing enough. Now, in terms of talents, they could talent a 5-second range stun, which is Asphyxiate. It's on a 30-second cooldown, so I would recommend saving your trinkets specifically for this ability. Don't use your trinkets right away because, like I said, it's very often, it's only 30 seconds of a cooldown, so he's going to be using this often. Only use your trinket when you need to. Now, in my opinion, for this ability, what I recommend is the best way is when Asphyxiate without having the trinket is to force him to use it as a gap closer when you're kiting. So let's take an example here. Say you're right on top of the Death Knight and you start kiting with Chi Torpedo. he wants to catch up to you, so he uses Asphyxiate. That's a good thing. You do not need to trinket. The reason for that is because he's got to run up to you. By the time he runs up to you to attack you, it's only got like say 2 or maybe even 3 seconds left, depending on when he used it. Now if he's right on top of you and he used it, you can tell he's going for the kill. So you may want to trinket this and then say roll away. Now if he's got you at low percent, maybe you're at like 20% health, and he Asphyxiate you, you're probably going to die in that stun. So you're going to want to trinket that stun if you have a trinket. So that's what I'm saying here when it comes to Asphyxiate. Save your Asphyxiate, or sorry, save your trinkets for Asphyxiate when you need to. If he's got to catch up to you, you probably don't want to use your trinket. If you're low health or he's on top of you when he uses it, that's 5 seconds of massive damage. You're probably going to want to trinket it then. The next talent that Death Knights can get is Remorseless Winter. This is a 1-minute cooldown and surrounds the Death Knight for quite a few seconds. Now, if anyone is right beside the Death Knight, you're going to get a stack every second of Remorseless Winter. When you get 5 stacks, you are stunned for 5 seconds. This is a huge deal because if you do get stunned, chances are you're right beside him, which is a full 5 seconds of massive damage without any parrying, dodging, or anything of that sort. So getting stunned is huge by Remorseless Winter. However, it is very easily avoidable. As long as you see it activated on time, you get away from him as much as possible. Even if he grips you, you should be able to get away using Roll, Chi Torpedo, Flying Serpent Kick, Tiger's Lust, even your stuns and paralysis. You have plenty of ways of stopping the Death Knight from sticking beside you. You should be able to get away before you get hit by 5 stacks of Remorseless Winter. The reason why this is so important is because if he is spec'd into this and he gets you into a stun with it, he basically stunned you and most likely will get a trinket out of you without having to asphyxiate. So it's basically getting a free trinket. So make sure you do pay attention and do not get hit by Remorseless Winter. Alright, so the next talent and the final one that we are going to talk about is Breath of Sindragosa. This works in a similar way as Remorseless Winter, where as long as you're not beside the Death Knight, you should be okay. The only question is, and the challenge is going to be getting away from him. Usually Death Knights try to get you in a stun or something so they can unload their full runic power, because Sindragosa does drain runic power to do a lot of damage. So when you see them at full runic power not spending any, chances are they have Breath of Sindragosa and are about to use it. So if they do have Asphyxiate and they are about to use Breath of Sindragosa, or even if they do use it, you're probably going to want to trinket right away and get out of that, because Breath does a lot of damage, so watch out for this as well. So it mostly comes down to what they're talented into, and the more stuff they're talented into, whether it's burst damage or CCs, you're going to have to really choose wisely when you use your trinket. If they're only using Asphyxiate and not, say, Remorseless Winter and Breath of Sindragosa, then it's a pretty easy deal when it comes to using your trinkets. So those are all the abilities in terms of the cooldowns that they have that we need to pay attention to. Next, we're going to go into the video, and I'm going to show you guys basically how I deal with Death Knights on a regular basis. So let's head over to there. Oh, hey guys, welcome back. Alright, so now we're going to get into a example of basically how I deal with a Death Knight. So here my Holy Paladin buddy, well, he's actually not really my buddy, this is a skirmish arena, and I just randomly solo queued. So anyway, my Paladin partner here, he dies, and it's just a Windwalker and Death Knight against me. So somehow I get this amazing chi burst onto him with a crit there, a Transcendence behind, and I killed a monk. So now it's down to me at 26% health and a Death Knight. Now the Death Knight is missing some cooldowns, but so am I. So this may not be a 100% example of a duel, but this is pretty much any 1v1 situation. So this doesn't have to be 100, everyone's got cooldowns. This can be any 1v1 situation to deal with a Death Knight, and I think that's why I preferred to use this example. So you can see here, I'm applying some pressure as much as I can, and he does asphyxiate. Notice how I Chi Torpedoed there and he asphyxiated me. Now that's a good thing, because as you can see, I did not have to trinket that. I didn't even have any trinkets, so luckily, I think if I was beside him, I probably would have been dead. So try to force him to asphyxiate by using a Chi Torpedo. I did get a Tiger Strikes proc, so I started my burst there with a touch of Karma. I almost said touch of command. I don't know what the heck that is. So here you can see I'm constantly kiting. I'm using every mobility ability that I have to kite. I'm playing with the pillars. This is the only way you're going to beat a Death Knight. And the reason is because Death Knights are just over-tuned right now. They have too much survivability, too much healing, and too much damage. And then you add on the fact that monks are terrible in terms of survivability and damage outside of Tiger Eye Brew and other cooldowns. It's really the only way you can play. You have to wait until you get cooldowns in order to face a Death Knight. So you can see here I'm peeling as much as I can. It's the only way to beat a Death Knight. I paralysis there so I can get away. Unfortunately, it broke somehow, so I got away with the Flying Serpent Kick. I knew he did not have grip, so I used Flying Serpent Kick to get away. I'm using the pillars again, that way he can't damage me while I'm healing. You want to line of sight any of his Pillar of Frost or Howling Blasts, and as you can see here, he grips me there. I use a Transcendence, not as good of a Transcendence as I was hoping. I did paralysis there to stun him so he doesn't dodge it. If he dodged my leg sweep, that would have been huge there for him. So you can see here, I'm applying little things, as you can see, pressure. This is huge here. He asphyxiated me right in melee range, so he's getting full 5 seconds of damage. damage, which is terrible. I Chi Torpedo, I Tiger's Lust. I'm saving my Flying Serpent Kick in case he has Death Grip. I don't know if he has it right now. No, he doesn't. Actually, no, yeah, he does. He used it right there. So now I Flying Serpent Kick. So see, there's one of my strategies right there. You basically want to Flying Serpent Kick after Death Grip. That way you can, or that's what's called, right? Yeah, Death Grip. For some reason I'm going like kind of blank right now. I'm using Touch of Karma here. The reason for this is so I can stay on top of him, because if I don't use any defensives, he's going to smash the crap out of me. You just can't stand toe to toe. You have to use something in order to stay with him. I trinketed there because Touch of Karma came off, and that's really bad because now he's going to get full 5 seconds of damage. I'm going in with my full burst here because I do have my trinket proc up with Tiger Palm and Rising Sun Kick. Might as well get any kind of pressure I can. Sometimes I'm pretty bad for that. I'm so focused on getting away, I forget to use Hurricane Strike on cooldown, so you got to watch out for that. I'm trying to use Fist of Fury as much as I can as well. That's your main source of pressure. As you can see here, I'm taking advantage of that Death Knight's mobility. It's just terrible mobility, and you can just see how I'm basically playing it out. I'm trying to force his grips, force his asphyxiate so I can get away successfully. I'm trying to use my paralysis and stuns to do extra damage or to get away. See, look at that. By the time he gets to me, there's about 1 or 2 seconds left, so it's not too big of a deal. A Transcendence there to get away. It saves my Flying Serpent Kick. That way when he goes to grip, I can use Serpent Kick anyway, so it's just really good. This is really the only way you're going to beat a Death Knight. Now, if you're playing, say, duels in Durotar or anything like that, you don't really have any pillars. However, you can still pull it off. I pull it off all the time. Pillars aren't too big of a deal. As long as you're far away from him when you're using your mobility, that's okay. But as you can see, it's really just the same thing over and over and over again. I have to keep kiting. It's the only thing I'm going to do. The only reason I did not edit this in terms of the gameplay example, even though it's kind of the same strategies, is so you guys can see over and over and over again how exactly I'm playing it out. So this is really the best way, in my opinion, to beat a Death Knight. I trinket that because he's right beside me. I can't afford to take that damage. I do have both Karma and Fortifying up, though, so I know I can go full offensive right now. I'm going to build up my heals. I'm going to go full offensive on him. I'm going to pop my Tiger Eye soon. I have my Trinket proc. This is the perfect time. I should have probably used Tiger Eye there. I screwed up totally there. I'm actually kind of glad I didn't now because he just went Anti-Magic Shell. I actually realized a mistake there. See, when you watch gameplays right now, actually I have my proc and my Tiger Strikes right there, so it's a good thing I saved it for there. I wasn't planning that, I don't think. So it's kind of hard to determine. All I know is like when you have procs up, you definitely want to go for the cooldowns. Alright guys, I hope this was to your guys' satisfaction. This pretty much concludes the Windwalker versus Death Knight guide. If you have any questions that I missed in this video, or any questions at all, don't be afraid to leave a comment down below. I will respond to you to the best of my ability through text. If any of you guys have some suggestions on whether it's dueling guides or anything like that, don't be afraid to leave a comment down below as well. Most importantly, this is basically my first guide in terms of dueling. I've never made a duel guide before. Let me know how this format is. I never really came into this video or making this video with a specific format. If this does good enough for you guys in terms of learning how to duel whatever class I'm covering, please let me know that this format is fine. Most importantly, if you did like this video in general, leave a like down below. Even a comment helps letting me know. That way I know how many people appreciate the effort that goes into this. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and hopefully I'll see you guys on my next one. Bye guys.